first Grade 1 race on opening day at Santa Anita, Sunday, is the Grade 1 Brea Stakes. 3-year-old fillies, 7 furlongs on the main track. And it is a race of marginal significance in the grand scheme of things, but of course not for the participants, because a lot of these fillies are looking for a Grade 1 win and or a Grade 1 placing to enhance their residual value. And over the last 10 years, the Brea Stakes has been an absolute bonanza for long shots. That does not necessarily bode well for the program favorite in this year's Brea, and that being Private Mission. But let's take a look over the last 10 years at 7 double-digit winners. All these winners in the last 10 years at 9-1 or higher. Fair Maiden last year at $43, $25 for Hard Not to Love. Right on down the line, starting back with Teddy's Promise at $35. This race, for some bizarre reason, and it could be pure coincidence, this race is a bonanza for long shots, and favorites are up against it, or at least they have been recently. In fact, in the last 10 years, favorites have won only 1 of 10, and 6 odds-on favorites did not win this race. Look, maybe it's a statistical quirk, but this is the type of race that I think it's a decent spot anyway to take a chance at a price. I say all that, and I'm going to end up picking the favorite as the most probable winner, but there are lots of ways to go in this year's field of 7 in Brea. And here's another little statistical quirk that relates to the program favorite. Let's go ahead and take a look at the entries for this year's Brea. It's race number 8. And the program favorite is number 4, Private Mission. She set an insane pace in the Breeders' Cup Distaff, and then she backed up and she finished nowhere. I think you can forgive her finish position anyway, because the pace was absolutely brutal in the Breeders' Cup Distaff, 44 and change, and she backed up. Now she's backing up from 2 turns to 1. Here's an interesting tidbit, and at least I found it interesting. Over the last 30 years, no Brea winner came out of the Breeders' Cup Distaff. I find that a fascinating statistic, and maybe Private Mission will break that streak. She's the best filly in this race. There's no doubt about it. But back in 2000, Spain won the Breeders' Cup Distaff, finished second in the Falls City, and then she came back to California to win the Brea. But in the last 30 years, no Brea winner coming out of the Breeders' Cup Distaff. So Private Mission is going to try to break that streak, and we'll see if she can. Like I said, she is the best horse in the race. This field is absolutely filled with speed. Number 3, Calypso, runs on or near the front end. So does Private Mission. So does number 5, Missy P. And so does number 7, Living My Best Life. So 4 of the 7 runners in this race are front runners. That's going to make things difficult, or theoretically anyway, make things difficult for Private Mission, and even Living My Best Life, who is the third choice on the morning line at odds of 7-2, and same with Missy P. The 3 program favorites, Private Mission, Missy P, and Living My Best Life, they are all front runners. Now, if they get in each other's way, this race could set up for a shipper from New Mexico, and we'll talk about her in just a minute. But first, let's talk about a comebacker by the name of Missy P. Missy P has started only 3 times, and she broke into the game in a relatively impressive performance. It was a debut win in which she ran fast and earned a big figure. She subsequently tailed off. I'm talking about Missy P, but she recently underwent tieback surgery for a breathing disorder in her throat, and she is training lights out for Dick Mandela. She's eligible to the first allowance condition, but Mandela said she is training so well, we're going to give her a shot. Now, here's what I consider a knock on Missy P. On paper, her debut performance, it was outstanding. She won by many lengths. She earned a 90 Beyer speed figure, a 2.25 on Thorograph. But when we take a look at her debut performance, I think you might suspect that it's not as good visually as it looks on paper. So let's go ahead and take a look at that debut win by Missy P. It was back in March, and she won for fun. Missy P, she won by more than 6 lengths. She earned a 90 Beyer speed figure, And on paper, it was a real impressive, solid win. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think that she wasn't exactly striding out like a beast, and she came back and lost her next two starts. So even though she won by a big margin, earned a big figure, I'm not convinced that Missy P is as good as that 90 buyer speed figure suggests. Now, look, you might take a look at that replay and go, wow, I was not dazzled by that victory. And that is the reason why Missy P is 5-2 second choice. That performance is why she is getting a whole lot of attention in La Brea. And look, she might run them off their feet. She's a better filly since the throat surgery. But I suspect that maybe she's not quite as good as that race looks on paper. Okay, let's take a look at a come from behind her who this race absolutely sets up for. Her name is Canoodling, and she has won 6 out of 12. And she's coming in from New Mexico, Zia Park last time out. Let's take a look at the stretch run of number 1 Canoodling, winning a minor stakes race at Zia Park in New Mexico. Big deal. New Mexico shippers don't win grade 1s at Santa Anita, do they? Well, why not? This is an outstanding performance by a good filly in top form, and the filly that she crushed by more than 5 lengths, Casual, came right back in her very next start to romp in a stakes race at Remington with a 92 buyer speed figure. So the point is this: Canoodling defeated a good filly. Her win was validated when Casual came back to crush at Remington, and this year's La Brea sets up for a filly that can rally from behind. At least theoretically it does anyway. Canoodling is listed at odds of 8-1. Around 1 turn on dirt, she's dynamite. I don't know if she's good enough to handle Southern California fillies. She wasn't when she was here earlier, but she's a better filly now than she was when she campaigned here previously. So this race sets up for Canoodling. Yes, it does. But when all is said and done, the class of the field happens to be Private Mission. Now, Private Mission won a pair of graded stakes races around 2 turns before she committed suicide up on the front end in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Let's go back and take a look at how Private Mission does in sprint races. This is back in June. Excuse me. This is back in June, and Private Mission in a sprint race, and she won. It was just an okay race. When you look at this allowance win, you can't really go, wow, this is a future graded stakes winner. She ran okay. She got there first, but she improved when she stretched out in 2 subsequent starts, including the grade 2 Zenyatta Stakes in fall at Santa Anita. The point in showing that sprint race is just to illustrate that maybe Private Mission is not quite as dominant around 1 turn as she is around 2. When Private Mission gets loose on the lead going 2 turns, there are very few fillies in California that can beat her. But we are going 7 furlongs on Sunday in the La Brea in a race that's filled with speed. Private Mission is trying to do something that has not been done in at least 30 years, go from the Breeders' Cup Distaff to a win in the La Brea in a race that year after year after year is won by a bomber. So, yes, Private Mission is definitely the horse to beat. But if this race, if they go fast early, Canoodling can sit back. She's going to blast home, and maybe this race falls right in her lap. I didn't even talk about Living My Best Life. Living My Best Life stretched out last time out because trainer John Sadler could not find a proper sprint race for her, and she went wire to wire. Living My Best Life is a sprinter. She's drawn outside where she has options with regards to running style, and she is a definite contender. Private Mission, the horse to beat. But my money at odds of 8-1 on the morning line will be going on Canoodling. Why can't she lay back and blast home and spring an upset in the La Brea Stakes, a race that has a history of upsets? Private Mission, the horse to beat. Canoodling, the horse to bet in race 8 on Sunday at Santa Anita.